very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on a Monday night. It's been quite a while since I've done one, or 2 weeks at least. Couldn't do one last week because I was up in Newcastle and basking in the glory of that win. Well, it's all we've got to hang on to at the moment, isn't it? Whereas at the weekends, we were brought back down to earth. I'm going to talk about the Jekyll and Hyde performances of West Ham later on in the show. And talk about the squad. What's going on? Is there an unhappiness in the squad? Are they together? As the head coach got them understanding what he wants from them? I don't know. One thing is, one of the people that he had a fallout with, of course, Mohamed Kudus, is back in for the game against Leicester City on Tuesday night. I'll be up there, wishing, hoping, fingers crossed that he scores the winning goal, or he scores at least a couple of goals. But anyway, there's going to be quite a lot to talk about. But of course, we always start off with people in the chat because I can see quite a lot of comments already. So we'll do what I usually do. Good evening to you, Shaky 2109. You might have been right there. We'll watch on catch up in Tenerife, 28 degrees. 28 degrees. Good evening to you. Usual. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. I've changed the subject title, didn't I, to players unhappy. Toha, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Sandwich, my 210. One of you were right. Epic, how are you? I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Philip. Stating the obvious, next 2 games decides his fate. Unacceptable to be humiliated at home like that. My understanding is his fate won't be decided until the end of the year, the end of the calendar year, not the end of the league season. That's what I keep being told. I keep double checking, and that's the answer I keep being given. So we might get beat tomorrow night, but that might not determine his future just yet. Graham, what an absolute shambles of a club. Well, we're West Ham. Foxes, good evening to you. Good evening to you, Leslie. How are you, mates? I hope you're well. Daniela, good evening. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Trudge. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Who else have we got in the chat? Good evening, Mr. Laurie. How are you? I hope you're well, and thank you for joining, Daniela. Poor result, poor performance by the players, but I'm having a meltdown over a game. I'm not having a meltdown over a game of football. I don't think any of us want to have a meltdown, but we want more, don't we? You know, even me, sitting on the fence, wants more as well. Howard, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. The scoreline Saturday was more heartbreaking. A bit more than just heartbreaking. Good evening to you, mate. West Ham, great again. How are you? The Juventus director of football allegedly contacted the senior source to thank him for letting the scarf man hijack the Todibo deal. And Kilman is second coming of Gary Breen. I've got some news on Todibo, but I'll bring you that a little bit later on. Good evening, Colin. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Good evening to you, Steve. How are you, mate? First home game for Van Nistelrooy, going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. You know, he's going to want to win in his first game. The players are going to want to impress him. So it's not going to be a walk in the park, is it? Without, definitely not. Trudge, by the way, I thought they made a new rule at the start of the season. The players not allowed to surround the ref. It's Arsenal, so they're allowed, aren't they? It's outrageous what happened at the weekend. I've done a couple of shows on it already. And it's just like it made my blood boil. And I tried to calm down. I did a reflection show on Sunday evening, and I was still angry at the way that game was reffed. Let's be honest. It didn't lose us the game. We would have lost the game anyway. But they didn't need a helping hand, did they? Who else have we got in the chat? So I'm trying to scroll down. Good evening to you, Vonnie. How are you? Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Kent. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Obsidian. How are you? And good evening to you, Hammerette. I hope you're well too. Paul, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. And to Mark and Mr. Turner as well. I hope you're all well. NWO, how did we beat Newcastle? We played well. I'm talking to my mates, Wiggy and Paul, and tonight they've been saying, well, we were lucky. And if only they put their chances away. Well, if only we put our chances away as well. We actually played well. That's what I don't understand. Was it a false dawn? Probably yes. But the Jekyll and Hyde performances between what we did at Newcastle and then what we didn't do at home against Arsenal is just I can't believe it. I can't, it was an absolute shock. Okay, we were going to have a hard game. Okay, we were likely to get beat, but in the manner of it's the manner of the defeat that hurt more than anything else. Good evening to you, Leslie. I think I said good evening. Strange fact, I am on time. Hey, imagine that. Anthony, I wouldn't mind Scott Parker being coach, doing well at Burnley, second in the championship. Possibly, but there are other coaches, managers that are being considered. Sergio Conceição is now apparently the favourite alongside Edin Terzic. Take your pick. How about that one today? How about that one tomorrow? There's so many head coaches that are being apparently considered. Yeah, Raymond, good evening to you. Heard that Terzic is a done deal. No, it's not a done deal. But it depends on who you believe. It depends on what you believe and who you want to believe and so on. And everyone seems to have their favorite head coach that's going to take over. At this moment in time, the head coach is Lopetegui, and my understanding is he's quite likely to be the head coach right up until and probably including the Liverpool game, which is 28th, 29th of December, whatever date that is. But that's what I keep hearing. There may be a decision by then in order to go into January and the transfer window being open, etc. But I keep hearing that there is no deal complete yet, and that includes Terzic. But apparently, he's one of the favourites. Morel, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. Kent, hopefully we'll get rewarded tomorrow night with a 2-1 hard-fought win. I'd play Kudus up front. I agree with you there. As a striker, I'm going tomorrow another 8 hours. Good. Well, I'm going there as well, mate. And I've got an offer of a lift home, but it means I'd have to leave about 10 minutes early, or I make my way to the train station and catch the last train back to London. I don't want to get stuck up there, that's for sure. Dallas, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Ralph. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Catherine. How are you? For all the way from USA, I hope you're well. And thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Matthew. Hope you're well. Loppy better not put Kudus out on the left. Must be in the middle. I'm going to talk about the team lineup in a minute. I've got some options. Well, I've got options, as if I have a say in the matter. But I know what I'd do. But I wouldn't want him out on the left either, to be quite honest with you. NWA, not the first time we have shipped 5 goals in recent history. It's becoming quite a customary thing. Might as well let every bloody team score 5 against us. It's like, last season when we were getting beat by teams and they were knocking in 4, 5, 6 against us, and everyone was like, Moyes out, etc. And we thought at the very least, I remember when I started I remember in pre-season when Lopetegui was confirmed, and I looked at all his details, and I was saying, well, if there's one thing we're sure of, is that at least he's going to shore up the defense. Good grief, what's happened? Because the defense looks no different to different players, but no better to what we had last season. Now, you look at the players that we brought in. Kilman, many would say decent defender. Maybe we paid a little bit too much for him, but okay. English defender, Premier League, experience. Yeah, we're going to pay 40 mil for a player like that. Todibo, all the amount of effort it took to bring him in, to persuade him to come to West Ham rather than Juventus, and we won that battle. And he doesn't, he's always got a smile on his face, but you just wonder in the background what might be going on. Chris, and yet NWO, we're still shipping all these goals. Chris, good evening, mate. Back from Pafford. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Should have stopped out there. I don't blame you. Bit warmer than Bridlington. I bet it is. I mean, I'm biased. Go to even if you go to Cyprus in December, you're going to get a few hours of heat. I tell you, God, imagine. I wonder if the missus, she doesn't need persuading. I wonder if I turn around and say, let's go to Cyprus for Christmas. She'll bloody go. She'll have her bags packed now. Probably heard me from outside the door. What prediction am I giving for Tuesday? I'm predicting a win. 3-1, I think I said yesterday. Or this morning. No, I did a preview this morning and I said 3-1. There you go. I'm deluded. Ralph, I'm not happy still. This is becoming a living nightmare. Good evening to you as well, mates. Who else we got? Edin Terzic, that's what a lot of people saying, Chris. Terzic, not going to be any different. Let's get it in our heads. In all the time that the current owners have been in power, have been owning the club, but only once have they ever recruited a manager that is not pragmatic. And you'd be surprised to hear that was Pellegrini. All the other managers that they've recruited in the time that they've been in charge have all been pragmatic managers. Will it be someone like Terzic? Almost definitely. Almost definitely. If Lopetegui goes. Finn, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Zuma with no knee is better than Kilman. I'm not so sure because he's not playing out in where did he go? Saudi or whatever. He's not been playing for a little while, is my understanding. I might be wrong there. MJ, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Colin, good evening, mate. I believe we'll win 2-3. 4-3-3 formation. Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Mavro, Kilman, Emerson, Paqueta, Alvarez, Soler, Somerville, and Kudus up front. I think I'd like Kudus up front. Oh, and Bowen as well. Oh, sorry, Bowen up front. I'd like Bowen or Kudus up front. Probably not going to get it though, are we? Good evening to you, Bradley. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Neil. How are you? Bothered by the scoreline, it was the performance. Not bothered by the scoreline, it was the performance was poor. And you've got to ask yourself, what's going on in the players' heads? Is it a United, West Ham United at the moment or not? You know, we did hear earlier in the season that players were unhappy and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, we got the whole issue with Mohamed Kudus in the Brentford game when he was hooked off at halftime, and apparently there was a fracas. I hope there's nothing like that going on again in the background. Who knows? Maybe in the next day or so we might find out. Navadius, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Apparently we're interested in Consol Schmidt, Terzic, you name it, we're interested in him. You know, at this moment in time, I'm putting no bets on until we get closer to that Liverpool game. And then, I mean, if we lose by some very heavy margins, but how many times have I said that? If we lose by some very heavy margins, listen to me. If we lose by some very heavy margins between now and the end of the year, he'll be gone before the Liverpool game. But then we were told the last two games were going to be the make or break for Lopetegui. And here's the irony. And I know I'm trying to put a spin on it. Well, it's fact. So it's not spin, it's fact. Someone said to me, it's one of you guys that said in one of the comments after one of my shows, if we were offered 3 points and only a -1 goal difference after the last two games against Newcastle and Arsenal, 3 points and just a deficit of another -1 goal difference, how many of you would have taken that? You know I would have, and I'm sure many of you would have. And that's the irony. We won 2-0 against Newcastle. We lost 5-2 against Arsenal. But the result is we had 3 points and the goal difference of -1. You'd take it, wouldn't you? That's putting a positive spin on it. Trodge, Mav gives us balance at the back. Shame he sleeps, same as Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I wouldn't say Wan-Bissaka mentally sleeps. I think it's just the way he's been asked to play the game. Because when he defends, he's brilliant at defending. But I make you right about Mavropanos. Now, I still like Todibo, but my understanding is he hasn't travelled with the squad for the game against Leicester. My understanding is that there's an issue in terms of potential injury. What else we got? Trodge, again, I think we need to play Mavropanos and Wan-Bissaka. Just shout at them regularly so they don't fall asleep. Trini, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It's not a false dawn. I did not expect anything against Arsenal, being a realist, but did want to see more fight. When we showed it, we scored twice. Good point. When we showed it for those 10 minutes, we absolutely scored twice. And then Anthony Taylor thought, hang on a minute, I need to put a stop to this. How dare they score 2 goals against my Arsenal? I better do something. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give them another penalty. I'm still angry. Morel, this is the first run of favourable fixtures coming up. Won't be easy, though, because players need to roll up their sleeves and fight as well as Loppy getting it right. You know what? Winnable games. Again, away to Leicester, who are fighting for their, Premiership. I know it's early, but, they're down there, aren't they? They're not that far behind us, but they are 5 points behind us and only a couple of points away from the drop. So we got Leicester away. Wolves at home, who are going to be fighting because they're in the bottom 3. We got Brighton, who are an effing good team, and they're up there, aren't they, at the moment? All right, but 1 or 2 results may have not gone their way, but in general, they're a good team. Bournemouth away, who aren't going to be easy, and they're playing nice football. And then we got Southampton, who are also fighting for their lives. 5 games that are meant to be easy. They're not, are they? They're not going to be easy whatsoever. Nevadius again. What number in line is Kenso Sal? Is anyone counting? All these names, they have no plan to replace him instead. Don't count. Just don't worry about it, because it won't happen unless, if we get trounced in the next 2 or 3 games, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, if we don't win any of the next 2 or 3 games, I think he'll be gone well before the Liverpool game. But I keep being told, when the Liverpool game comes and goes, then a decision could be made by then. Leslie, and I know some people have said, well, by that time, we might be in the bottom 3. Might well be. If our form does not improve, we'll be as crap as Man City. Sack him. Well, I tell you what, why don't Man City sack Pep? We sack Lopetegui and we'll go to Pep. Come on, mate. Little project here for you. Show how good you really are without all those hundreds of millions available to you. Mind you, they can't spend it, can they? They find ways, though, don't they? But, come on, Pep. Go on, get sacked by Man City. He's just signed a long-term deal, isn't he? It'll only be about, 10, 15 million a year in wages? And, I don't know, get out clause of, 15, 20 million? We can afford that, can't we? To get Pep in? Actually, he's not good enough. Probably for Sullivan, he's not got enough Premier League experience. So I can understand why Sullivan wouldn't want Pep at West Ham. Colin, good evening, mate. I'm getting so cynical as I'm getting older. I hope you're well, Colin. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Robert. Thought of the third round cup. Well, let's start with that, shall we? The third round FA Cup. Now, I'm sure you've all seen it. We've got Aston Villa away, going to be played between the 10th and the 12th of January. The possibility at this moment in time, because we've got Fulham on the Tuesday night, on the 14th, that means it's going to be played either on the Friday evening or early on Saturday. It's going to be one of those two, isn't it? In order to give us enough time, I don't know who they're playing afterwards, but to give us enough time to be able to play Fulham on the 14th. So, be prepared. It's either going to be a Friday evening or a Saturday lunchtime kickoff. We play Man City the week before that on the 4th of January. Like I said, we're currently playing. Well, no, it won't change now. We're playing Fulham on the 14th. So that's the date it could be. Other notable games. Arsenal host Man United. Very interesting. Man City will struggle at home against Salford. And Liverpool have got even harder because they're hosting Acton Stanley. What was that? Did someone just cry out fix? Come on. It's the FA. Come on, FA Cup. Who's going to fix the... Come on. Surely they're not going to fix that, are they? Especially when you then hear that Chelsea are at home to Morecambe and Tamworth are hosting Spurs. Come on, people. Football match fixing right before your very eyes. All these teams. The only one I'm surprised, I bet they must have shit themselves when the Arsenal Man United draw came out. They went, who did that? Who made the error? Who gave him the wrong ball? Man City hosting Salford, Liverpool hosting Acton Stanley, Chelsea are at home to Morecambe, and Tamworth are hosting Spurs. Leave off. And we've got Arsenal, and we've got Aston Villa away from home. So we're playing Aston Villa twice in that month, in the cup and then at the end of the month when we go all the way back up there again for the league game. Honestly, I mean, you could make it up, and it has just been made up. And I've seen from my notes here, I've got to do a few shout outs, by the way. So David Brumfield, if anybody knows a chap called David, John, I've let you down. This is from John Hallett. He messaged me and he says, can you ask if anyone knows a chap called David Brumfield? And if you message me on westhamvoice@gmail.com, I'll pass the details on to John. He's been trying to get in touch with him. Got to say hello to Richard, who said hello to me and Wiggy on the steps of the Bobby Moore lower. And he even stupidly complimented Wiggy's shirt. I mean, don't do that. And good evening to you, Jordan. I did say I'll say hello to you. I met Jordan at halftime at the Newcastle Stadium. He is, he might be in the chat, Avram Grant Slipper. Thank you for coming over and say hello, Jordan. Also to Josh, who I met en route to Newcastle Stadium with a very heavy American accent. Hello to you. And also to Chaz and Grant Crotsford, who I met at Newcastle as well. Right. What other comments have we got here? Sharky. The stewards need to stop letting away fans in the home end if they spot them. Well, we saw the trouble. Oh, let me get rid of that. We saw the trouble, didn't we? Or most of us did. The Sun sensationalized it. West Ham fan fighting West Ham fan. What a turgid load of bollocks. We know it was Arsenal fans that were in the home end. And look, we've all done it. We've all done it. We've all gone to games with tickets in the home end when West Ham have been playing the opposition. I've done it. I'm sure many of you have. but it's the way you conduct yourself, isn't it? It's the way you actually conduct yourself when you're there. And apparently, it was in Bobby Moore. These guys were giving it a bit large, because 4-0 up, and I think they were like taking the piss a little bit, and they got sussed out, and before you knew it, fists were being thrown. Now, I'm not condoning violence. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely wrong. But what are you expecting if you're in the home ends as an away fan? Dallas. I wish Antonio could humble himself to accept the impact role from the bench. I totally agree. But that's down to the head coach. He's got to drop him. Jerry, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Bill. How are you? Sullivan has history of this. Won't dismiss Lopetegui because of the bad news stories associated with sacking him whilst his father is so ill. That's a good point. That is a good point. It will be easier at the end of the season. I don't think it will get to the end of the season, but that is a good point. Sullivan's a bit of a soft touch in that respect, and he won't probably sack him partly because of also his father, Lopetegui's father, being ill. Charles, love the Pirate style goal from Emerson. Brilliant goal. I didn't even know he had it in his locker, to be quite honest with you. Mark, I was disappointed it didn't bring on any of the youngsters in the second half. Not sure we're going to see them again this season. Well, there were one or two youngsters that I was surprised that they were actually on the bench. I'll talk about them later on. Obsidian, clueless twat, dropped Somerville and played Kudus left. We all know it. I know it. And that ain't right, is it? Good evening to you, Hakim. How are you, mate? Is Fulkrug available tomorrow? Yes, he is, by the way. Apparently breaking news is that this afternoon, Fulkrug passed the medical. Roll out the drums. Honestly, he passed the medical, people, and he's on his way. They went up to Leicester today, a day before, which is good, rather than going on the day of the game. And Fulkrug is travelling with them. One player that won't be travelling with them is Todibo. He's not available. Hammerette. That was terrible. The away fans in the home end, yet straight away the Hammers are accused of fighting each other from frustration. How shit we went. We didn't. Well, we didn't. It was Arsenal fans. Aaron, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I've been suicidal today, working with 3 Arsenal fans all day. You should have just mentioned the 2-0 that when we took 3 points off them last season, that scuppered their plans to win the league. And well done. We've got to congratulate Liverpool, haven't we? Because they have won the league already this season. So Arsenal aren't going to win it this season either. Neil, I fear we'll be back to 2 defensive midfielders. Somerville dumped on the bench and Kudus wasted wide on the left. I don't think there'll be 2 defensive midfielders, but I'd certainly think there'll be one. Raymond. Hakim passed fitness. Yeah, passed fitness test this afternoon. Wasn't breaking news then. Morel. Sorry to hear that, Aaron. Annoying bunch for sure. Don't worry about it. Mr. Hallett. I mentioned him, and I've asked, to message if anyone knows. What's the chap's name? I'll go back to my notes. If anybody knows David Brumfield, or if David Brumfield's watching, message me on westhamvoice@gmail.com so we can put you in touch with your mate John. Trudge. Todibo alongside Alvarez is better balance. Soler in front. Drop Paqueta. No Todibo tomorrow. Finn. Lopetegui has to be the most uninspiring manager we've had since Uncle Avram. And I thought it was Moyes. There you go. Nevadius. Anyone notice that we're only linked with defensive coaches only? Well, yeah, not surprised. Absolutely not surprised because, as I said earlier on, that's what he's pragmatic. That's what Sullivan does. He had his fingers burnt with Pellegrini. He will very unlikely ever recruit an attack-minded manager again, which is a shame. Hammer it. Bone up top. Rest Antonio for next week. Just rest Antonio, full stop. Pointless playing him within 72 hours. Kudus on the right, Somerville on the left. Let's see. That's what I want as well. Bowen's crossing and passing. Too good from the right for me. I don't care. So long as I've got Bowen and Kudus, one of them on the right, one of them in the middle, I'll be happy with that. Because I think it'll be really unfair on Somerville if he's dropped. Sharky, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Never ask for money, but I always appreciate it when that gesture is offered. Fulkrug on his way out in January. Get him fit first, and then we'll see from there. Andrew, the Guardian's Jacob Steinberg said, we have identified Conceição as a potential replacement for Lopetegui. May approach him. Steinberg, he is a solid source. But Conceição was mentioned about 2 months ago, as was Roger Schmidt, as was Terzic, as have been quite a number. if you took, we know that Steiden feeds information to the likes of Steinberg and various others, etc. And good sources. I mean, Steinberg about a month ago talked about 3 managers that we were approaching, and none of them were Consul Sal. Trini, Kilman did a show of shocking lack of agility when too far up. I mean, yes, we were all, really bad defending by Kilman, but that goes to show that this lineup, this high press that Lopetegui insists on, is just not working. It's killing us. It absolutely is killing us. Obsidian, Bilic was the only decent manager they appointed. Yeah, actually, yeah, fair play. He survived 2.5 seasons, but even then he lost it as well. I mean, he got upset because Payet left. I've never seen a man mourn the sale of a player as much as Bilic when Payet left West Ham. Epic. I don't want a proven manager. Every time we go for a proven manager, we'll get a dinosaur with obsolete tactics. True. William, good evening, mate. There is more chance of selling appointing Steve Cooper than Sergio Conceição. I didn't even want you to say that in jest. But we're not. No. Well, we might. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Danny. I hope you're well. Greg Wallace of Mill. He is indeed. That surprised me. Mate, West Ham, blah, blah, blah. Has the Juventus director of football allegedly contacted the senior source to thank him for letting the Scarf Man hijack the Todibo deal, and is Kilman the second coming of Gary Breen? How harsh. Colin, still, I feel we need to get another centre-back, different type to ball-playing centre-back. Not sure if it's working. Do you feel Kilman and Todibo are all that good in the air? Well, interestingly, when I did the preview against Arsenal, Kilman is in the top 10 of headed clearances in the Premier League. There you go. And Todibo, oh no, it's Mavropanos, who is, although the number of minutes he's played doesn't get him into the top 10, it's Mavropanos, who is also Todibo. I don't know. Trodge. These centre-backs got to stop Dawson game after next. That won't happen, will it? Catherine, he'll score against us. Catherine, Taylor was awful. How can they review that and call his performance adequate? Totally agree. Well, if you've seen my, the straight after that night, the review I did as I was going home, and then I did the reflection show, Taylor, got to be careful when I call a referee corrupt, but Taylor was corrupt. Andrew, I didn't think it was possible for Arsenal fans to be more insufferable than Spurs fans. There are a few levels above, without a doubt. They are becoming that way, aren't they? Having said that, there's 1 or 2 Arsenal fans who did comment on some of my shows, and they were fairly decent, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, who else have we got? Let's scroll down. Obsidian. Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well. Obsidian. It's a joke beating crap like Leicester is the benchmark this season. How low have our expectations gone? Well, we've got to get them out of the way, to be quite honest with you, because if we start losing against them, we really are in trouble. Good evening, Darren. I hope you're well. We were crap. The ref was crap. I blame the players for the results. They obviously don't deserve to wear our shirt, let alone they don't deserve their wages either. There's something going on. Well, I mean, you look at their body language and you just ask yourself, what is it? What is actually going on? Like I said earlier on, we know about the issues that happened during the Brentford game with a fallout between Lopetegui and Kudus. Lopetegui and Kudus. I just wonder. I'm looking around some of the body language of some of the players. I'm looking at Somerville and I'm looking at Todibo, and I'm looking at 1 or 2 other players, and I'm just wondering, surely they haven't fallen out with the head coach as well, have they? I wonder if we're going to find anything like hear anything like that in the next few days. SLM, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Neil, Vardy looked 25 years younger racing around our midfield. Will look 25 years younger, and he's always up for a game against West Ham, isn't he? Avram Grant Slipper is the best YouTube name. It is decent. And thank you for coming up and saying hello if he's in the chat. Robert, be a few hammers going to Millwall in the day. Dagenham and Redbridge fans for the day. Is that who they got? I don't know. Good evening, Chief Foxes. I hope you're well. Toha, will the FA Cup game go straight to penalties after 90? That might be the only hope. Yes, they will, is my understanding. Andy, why was Mavropanos on the bench? Why wasn't he on? He had a virus, but he's back. He's travelled with the squad. for the game against Leicester tomorrow evening. He did have a virus. Chris, good evening, mate. Any thoughts about playing? If it were me, mate, I think he should play up top or on the right and have Bowen up top, whichever way you want to spin them. Absolutely. In my eyes, that's what I would do. But then I'm not the manager, head coach. Still, has Wiggy got the Hawaiian shirt in the club shop? It's a bit loud. No, mate. No, they're a bit normal for him. So he doesn't buy his Hawaiian shirts from the club shop. He goes and spends a fortune. His missus buys them for him. Shows how much she hates him, eh? Aaron, any truth in Bilic advising Turgic not to take the West Ham job while Sullivan is in charge? Haven't heard that. So if that's, I've not heard that. So I couldn't answer. I really genuinely haven't. Charles, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Paul, West Ham loan players are not faring very well. Soler, looked good against Newcastle. And that through ball, I mean, if that was a Chelsea or Arsenal or a Liverpool player playing that ball through to Wan-Bissaka for our goal, everyone would be creaming their pants over that. That was a class ball. He's getting a bit better. He's getting better. Give him a bit more time. John, I had tickets for the 1980 final in Arsenal's end. Stewards transferred us to the other end. There you go. See, you got to just be, all right about it. And don't be loud and so on. All tackled up. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Honestly, mate, this season is doing my head in. Can you believe yet another Premier League FA Cup tie? Yeah. Well, and I can believe it. And like I said earlier in the show, what I feel sorry for are the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea and teams like that who are really going to have a tough time trying to get past the opponents that they've been drawn against. But we'll sail through it, won't we? Andrew, missed both our goals on Saturday, watching it all kick off below me. Were you in the top end of the Bobby? Are you in the Bobby Moore upper? Because I was on the side and I couldn't see exactly what was happening, but I was told about it afterwards. Robin, Villa might have their minds on other things than the FA Cup, and to be honest, playing away is better than shit. Well, yeah, playing away when we win is fantastic. I can assure you. Last Monday night, when we were away to Newcastle, the atmosphere was absolutely superb. Obsidian, this sounds heartless, but we could use Loppy's dad as an excuse for him to go. Letting him go on compassionate grounds. Loppy saves face. We get good PR, hopefully a better manager. Yeah. It would give, in a way, would be good PR. Vonnie, left at half-time on Saturday, first time ever. Didn't want to do this. I still had some hope, but the trains cancelled. Most trains going back to Kent. He had a reason to go back. Jeff, Sean said nothing will happen with J-Lo after the Man City game before the break in January, if anything. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's Liverpool, and then straight after it's Man City. It's going to be one of those games where a decision could be made. Finn, basically end of December, beginning of January. People moan when Sullivan interferes, but he has a better signing strike rate than overrated Scarfman. Ian, Alan Pardew compares liability Paqueta to Hatem Ben Arfa for all the wrong reasons. Well, he's got a mistake in him. And, if you're going to be really harsh, at least 2 or maybe 3 of the goals that Arsenal scored on Saturday were down to Paqueta. The penalty, weak penalty, but Paqueta stuck his foot out. I mean, it was weak. It was weak. I don't even want to blame Paqueta for that. And then I think, I don't know which goal it was. It could have been the one lobbed over Kilman's head where Paqueta lost the ball and they won possession and they scored. So he is a liability, and he has been a liability for a couple of seasons now, not just this season, but last season as well. Good evening, Daniel. I hope you're well. When will players on the pitch be on the same page, no matter the tactics? It's getting ridiculous. I thought we started to get it right in the game against Newcastle. Clearly not. But I do apologize. I do try and get as many comments in. I can't read them all out, but I try and get as many as I can in. I don't know about our defensive coach, but if we never sort out our defending on a permanent basis, we will always be a fodder for any of the top 6 club. I thought we did, to be quite honest with you. I actually thought we did sort out our defenders. And, we looked at the defenders and we went, yeah, Todibo, yeah, okay. Kilman, yeah, okay. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, okay. We've actually strengthened, but it's that this time round, whereas last season you could see it as the low block, the tactics, were putting the likes of Zuma and other players under pressure, Mavropanos under pressure. This season, the tactics of playing the high line is putting the likes of Kilman and Todibo under pressure. Here's the irony. if we were playing the low block with the defence that we've got this season, we might have done a lot better. Right, I'm going to do a roundup before I go back to your comments. A very, very quick roundup indeed. Let's start with the women's team. Over a week ago, the women's team. Over a week ago, the women's team were in League Cup action against Championship club London City Lionesses, formerly Millwall Lionesses, where we won 4-1 to go through to the next round of the competition. Now, it's really interesting with the women's team because when we play in the league, we get spanked. When we play Championship teams, we spank them. So we're clearly somewhere in the middle. Now, next game for the women's team is Sunday when we face Crystal Palace at home in the Premier League. The under-18s are not in action this week, but the under-21s were. And we faced Man City on Friday night in the Premier League under-21s league, where we lost to a last-minute goal from Man United. Worryingly, that's 6 games defeated in a row for the under-21s, which is a bit of a new record in a way. It's like a bit of a concern. Their next game is against Olympique Lyonnais tomorrow night, Tuesday night, in the Premier League International Cup. Right, a bit of loan watch, because if there's ever a defender we might have needed at this moment in time, believe it or not, is Naifa Gerd. Doing really well in the Spanish league for Real Sociedad, not only in the Spanish league, but also in the Europa League. Just how we didn't get a decent loan fee for this player after spending so much money on him is anyone's guess. Last week, he played in the full game in the 2-0 win over Ajax in the Europa League. And at the weekend, he was back in action in the Spanish league, where I believe he only played the first half. I don't know if he picked up a knock or anything in the 2-0 win over Real Betis. With apparent interest in the player, it's been poo-pooed apparently, but apparently Real Madrid are showing an interest. Look, if there's interest in this player, and I dare say there will be, in buying him permanently, we've got to get a big fee for him. We've got to get a 25 million or more fee for the player because he's clearly good. He just stopped playing for West Ham United. Other players on loan. Callum Marshall made 2 appearances for Huddersfield Town last week, where earlier in the week he came on as a sub on with 26 minutes to go in the 2-1 home win over Charlton. Then at the weekend, he put the seal on Huddersfield's 9th League One victory with his 4th goal of the season and 2-0 win over Leyton Orient. He came on again as a late sub, and his work rate, real good work rate. In the 90th minute, he chased down a clearance from the Orient keeper, and it ricocheted into the bottom corner of the goal. He's doing quite well, and well done to him. Freddie Potts was again pivotal for Portsmouth at the weekend when he helped his side to see out a 2-2 away draw against Swansea. Now, ironically, Portsmouth were in fact 2-0 up by half-time, but Swansea got back into the game. This result leaves Portsmouth rooted to the bottom of the Championship. But having said that, Potts himself is actually doing really well. George Earthy has been in Championship action for a couple of times over the past week for Bristol City, where he came on for the last 11 minutes of a 1-0 defeat to Watford, and then he played a bigger role at the weekend in their 4-0 win over Plymouth. Potts and Earthy will face each other this coming weekend when Portsmouth host Bristol. Whether both play, Potts will play, but Earthy might come on from the bench. Right, let's get back into your chat, and then we'll do a full deep dive into what's happened, what's going on, and then look forward to what's coming up against Leicester tomorrow evening. Kim Joe, good evening to you. I hope to God we don't lose. I hope to God we lose. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I don't want to see the Spanish twat again. I can't. Great respect to you. Everyone's got their reasons for why we want to win, lose. I never want us to lose because, as I've said earlier on, it's not going to make a difference to Lopetegui's tenure. A decision won't be made probably until the end of this calendar year. Crisp, Arsenal is a well-oiled machine. We're nowhere near gelling as a team. Do you think we should be taking a chance on Orford in the middle? And we definitely need to find a striker. I think, ironically, in the middle, we've kind of started to get it right, especially giving Soler that central slot. You know, he looked better in the centre. Look how lost he was when he went out on the left when Somerville came off in the second half against Arsenal. Infamy, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. 2025 will be a big year for West Ham and new coach. Didn't we say that for 2024? Danny, mate. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good show. Thank you very much. Any thoughts on why we seem to concede 3 in quick succession because of our tactics? Seems like it's happened a few times. Spurs comes to mind as well as Saturday. We play so high. This is what Lopetegui wants. Now, I thought when we played Newcastle, we seemed to adjust our tactics. We were still pressing, but we seemed to be a bit more coordinated at the back. And all right, Newcastle weren't not as good as Arsenal, but Newcastle couldn't exploit our back line. Whereas we went back to doing what we did against Chelsea, what we did against Spurs, what we did against Nottingham Forest, and we played so high up. I mean, look where Kilman was when the ball was lobbed over him. He was just inside or just inside our own half. You know, he was so high up, and it's so easy to play against. Those tactics have got to change. We do not have the players. Whatever it is. If Lopetegui may be right in that respect, and given that he knows we don't have the players to play those tactics, why continue with them? It seems quite weird. Chris, I think he was referring to players out. He was referring to players out on loan. Sorry, I missed something, obviously. So repeat the comment, and I'll reply to it again. Paul, Massimiliano Allegri, please. If Loppy flops, I don't know where it's. I know I do know where it's come from, but it's not going to happen. Paul, I meant out of players on loan still. Earthy's still not getting many starts. Sorry, I've just been through them. My apologies. No, they are. They're getting games. You know, Patrick Kelly is getting game time. Earthy from the bench, but he's getting game time. Potts is starting quite regularly. Karen Marshall, yes, okay, from the bench, but again, he's getting game. I'm worried about Kudus, and I'm worried about Heggie, our goalkeeper, Christian Heggie and Kudus. They're not getting game time, but all the other players, all right, I prefer them to be starting, a bit like Potts. Potts is starting regularly, but the other players are getting some game time. They've got to just now prove themselves like Marshall, for example. He came on, he scored a goal. Hopefully that might give him a bit more game time in future games. So my apologies, I misunderstood you, Paul. Colin, just feel like the players don't want to play for Loppy. I reckon they've had enough of him. They're not liking his style. I feel they want to play a bit. And this is why I put, players unhappy. Something is going on. I don't want to be that conspiracy theorist to say that there's problems behind the scenes, etc., etc. But something is clearly going on. We know that it's happened. It's happened before when Kudus fell out with Lopetegui at half-time in the game against Brentford. And I just wonder if anything might be happening again in the background with any of the other players. Andrew, Billy Bond's upper. 2-4-2. Yes, I can see it from where I am with the goal sideways. Yeah, I could see where you are. So you had a very clear view of what was going on below. Razor, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. How stupid is Sullivan never to learn still? Everyone else changes quickly. We wait till the season is just about relegation. Well, we're not down there yet. I mean, here's the irony. I want to put another positive spin on it. We're 6 points away from the drop zone, but we're only something like 3 or 4 points from top 6. Mad. But we are, and that's fact. But I know we look more like a relegation team than we do look like a European team at this moment in time. Eamon, problem is we've been taking these beatings for the last 2 seasons. Absolutely. Sharky, can we get Potts and Earthy back from their loans? My understanding is no. They're full loans for the whole season. We can't get them back. Kim Joe, that might mean we have to get Cornet back as well, and you don't want him, do you? Kim Joe, the tactics are the reason why our defense is so crap. Absolutely, 100%. Shenken, good evening to you. Only 4 points behind Aston Villa and Newcastle. There's the irony. That is actual fact. I mean, we're not playing like a team that should be challenging for Europe. We are playing like a team that should be looking like we're in the drop zone. I don't deny. But there's the irony. We're closer to the top, the European places, than we are to the relegation places. That's the madness of football, isn't it? Robin, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. We always went into the North Bank at Arsenal in the 70s and early 80s. Always a lively, good day out. Lively. 75 Cup final, quarter cup final, 6,000 hammers in the North Bank. There you go. It happens. We know it happens, but it's how you conduct yourself. Now, I guess you guys really behaved when you were in the North Bank back then. Neil, defenders ain't that bad. The problem is tactics and the midfield too slow to help out the defence. Dave, I reckon we should put Lopetegui on gardening leave. give Noble a shot. You don't want that. I love Noble, but he's not ready for management, and I don't think he even wants it. And I wouldn't give it to him either, to be honest with you. Find out whilst we find a proper manager, head coach. Didn't finish the sentence. If Nobes does well, leave things there for a bit. No, I don't think it'd be a good idea, to be really honest with you. I remember when everyone was calling for Di Canio to become manager of West Ham. What team did he manage? Was it Sheffield or whatever? And he was an absolute barmy. He was a loon on the sidelines. You're like, no, mate. I'm not suggesting Noble would be like that, but you don't want an icon to start. It's a bit like Bowen and his captaincy. If we're not careful, Bowen's going to lose that idolization that he's got at the club because he's clearly not suited to being a captain. Hammer it. I've now decided that no matter how much we spend in any given window or what players we sign, I will not rate the window until I've actually seen them all get a run of game. That's fair play. That's fair play. Razor walked out behave style with Moyes and Arsenal playing low block. No, I'm not at all suggesting that we should play low block, but we can't be playing the high line that we're playing at this moment in time. It's not good. It's not good. Trudge, many seem to have rated Fulkrug already. You never know. He might come back. All right, imagine he comes on tomorrow, last 10 minutes, and the BF German scores the winning goal. All of a sudden, we'll be singing big in German, won't we? Pierino, we will. We're fickle like that. Come on. I just don't understand how they have all dropped off form all at the same time. That's why I'm asking, is there I don't want to say this because I don't want to be the conspiracy theorist, but is there unrest behind the scenes? Is there unhappiness within the squad? Something's going on, clearly, because how can you have such a Jekyll and Hyde performance, with Newcastle last week? And I know people are going to say and have been saying, it's because Newcastle didn't take their chances and all that sort of stuff. We had more chances on target than Newcastle did. They had two shots on target, Newcastle, to our 6 last week. So you can't keep saying, it's because the other team's not putting the ball away. If we put the other half of our chances away, we might have beaten them 5-0. So something's going on. Something clearly is going on. How can you have that Jekyll and Hyde performance between how we performed against Newcastle and how we performed against Arsenal? Yes, Arsenal are a better team, but to actually be 4-0 down in half an hour, what on earth? Morel. Never predict games we play. I just see how it plays out. Try not to set myself up for disappointment. Well, we were going up there last Monday. We thought we were going to be disappointed. We came back very happy, very drunk as well. Hammer's dad. Kudus up front. Agreed. Antonio super sub. We can fit all our best players in. Blue tack on Paqueta's left boot. We can beat anyone. Yeah, I agree. I think Kudus should play up front. Trudge, Marshall seems to have dropped off a bit. He has, but he came back scoring that goal, and that hopefully that might give him a bit more. That might just get him back in the starting lineup. He has dropped to the bench over the past few weeks. Andrew, we desperately need some leaders and characters in our squad. We were bullied by Arsenal on Saturday in our own stadium. That cannot be allowed to happen. I totally agree. With that. Neil. Real Madrid have always had dosh. They get bailed out every time they hit a cash flow problem. They do indeed. Robert, Stell, any idea how this virus is now? Virus? What virus? I know Mavropanos had a virus, but he's back. So he's travelled with the squad, is my understanding for tomorrow's game. It's going to take Fulkrug to get match fit. It will. He won't start tomorrow, but he might come off the bench in the last 5-10 minutes. Matthew, and get the winning goal. Matthew, apart from Rice, when was the last time we made a serious profit on a big sell player? I can't remember. Apart from Rice, that was it. I totally agree with that. Razor. Barca, Real, and a few more have plenty of cash in Spain. How they have it, God knows. Because Barca, they were broke, weren't they, recently? They had to sell a load of players. Bonnie, disappointed that Kudus never gets a game at Wickham now. Totally agree with that. Kudus, it's a shame because I like Kudus. I think he's quite a decent player. Sean, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Martin. How are you? You're talking sense as usual, which is very refreshing. Thank you for saying so. Not everyone thinks I talk sense, but I'm glad. I appreciate you saying that. Trudge, I think a big part of it is we could hit the ground running. Neil went horribly wrong. West Ham curse. He's answering Neil. I don't know what Neil said. My apologies. Richard, mate. Good evening to you. The most frustrating part of Saturday's game was the 10 minutes of effort they put in. There's no excuse for not extending that effort other than the lack of respect to the fans. It is weird. You know, we woke up when we went 4-0 down. We actually woke up when we went 4-0 down. Trini, it's much harder to press Arsenal. It worked against Newcastle, who don't play out from the back as well as Arsenal do. Good shout. Yeah, good point. Trudge, from the rumours, sounds like Fulkrug will never be 100% again. Probably not. So the question I was asked earlier, will we sell Fulkrug in January? If someone comes in and offers us 15 mil, we're going to lose another 12 mil if we do it. But if someone comes in and says there's 15 mil for him, you'd take it, wouldn't you? You'd absolutely take it. Razor, so losing 5-2 to Arsenal with Loppe is as bad as playing high, but 5-0 to Arsenal with Moyes playing low. But neither is better. Neither is better. You know, which one do you want to pick? I mean, I'm looking at the likes of Nottingham Forest and saying that's the way we should be playing our football. It's the mid block. There's no low block. There's no high block. They're playing the mid block and they're playing the counter-attacking play. Our players are better suited to playing counter-attacking football. Lopetegui wants possession-based football. He wants a high press. It's not suiting the players at all. Neil, good evening to you. I hope you're well. James, good evening, mate. Heard Paqueta's supposed to give video evidence. Not happening, apparently. I was told earlier today that I don't know what's happening. Maybe he's already given it, but he will be in the squad, is my understanding, for the game against Leicester tomorrow evening. Shenchen, percentages, given our technical level, we'll continue to get a win about 1 in 3, which will be enough to see Lopetegui through to the end of the season, if that's the case. Victor, good evening, mate. Can you get a better perspective of the game sitting in the stand than watching from the touchline? So if Lobby can't see his tactics are not working, sitting in the stand, he never will. Good point. Really good point. He saw how it unfolded, so he knows. Eamon, Pack will be transferring to a Brazilian team. He absolutely will not be, because it's quite likely he won't be playing football after he gets the hearing against the FA. It's quite likely, people. I'm going to have to accept it. That's another 50 million down the drain. If he gets banned across the board. I know people are saying that some people have suggested that if he gets banned, he can go and play football in Brazil. No, he can't. It'll be a worldwide ban. Morel, we as a club are always behind the times when we appoint managers. We only have one way of playing in today's game. You need to have different tactics for different situations. And there's the irony, Morel. I remember when I did a review on Lopetegui when he was coming to West Ham, when it was confirmed, and the different tactics that he played, you know, using the youth, different tactics, different formations, etc., etc. Where is it? I don't know why he's now stuck on one way of playing. It seems weird to me. Trudge, are we sure Paqueta lookalikes haven't been playing for months? Did he in fact truly ever come back to play for us? Maybe he's got a twin brother, Marcus Paqueta or something, who's never played football in his whole life. Infamy. It'd be hilarious if we ended up finishing 9th in this season or higher. It would be astonishing. It would be astonishing. It was Sunderland, thank you. It would be astonishing if we finish 9th the way we're playing at this moment in time. Obsidian, totally peaceful, just like all those times we politely waltzed into the shed. There you go, of course it was. Pierino, something is going on with the players. Surely someone knows a player who could actually tell us what is going the issue with the group. They won't let on, even if anyone did know. David, he also managed Swindon as well. Eamon, true. Was going to have duck for Christmas dinner this year, but seeing as West Ham have been giving us a lame duck so far this season, turkey instead. Christmas jokes are coming out already. Ian, catching up still? Thank you for catching up, mate, and thank you for joining. Born late, and it's written into my will to be late for my field. Mate, you're nicking my lines. I've actually said that I want my coffin to be delivered half an hour after the funeral has started. That's why I'm doing that. I'm always late. My mates make me. My mates hate me for it, that I'm always late. Even when I know I can be early, I still turn up. I don't know why. It's ingrained in me. I understand you, Ian. I totally get where you're coming from. Scotty Jessup, the real one. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. What's the odds of Loppy getting sacked after Leicester or Wolves if we both lose? Don't put your money on it, because no decision will be made until the end of the calendar year. Obsidian, Don't know about the squad, but I'm definitely unhappy. Hey, we will win the next 5 games. The come down will be the Christmas decorations in January. Well, we've only got so we got Southampton on Boxing Day. That'll be a celebration. And then we've only got Liverpool, and then straight after that we got Man City. I mean, come on, people. It couldn't have been an easier roll into the new year if we tried. Infamy. To be fair, Newcastle has been way more inconsistent this season than Arsenal, so really didn't expect to win against Arsenal. Was hoping for a draw at best. Neil, how many Steptoe lookalikes are there? How many Steptoe lookalikes are there? Have you seen that bugger that plays for Palace? Is it Hughes? I don't know who. But you're talking about what's his name, aren't you? Steptoe plays for Leicester. What other Steptoe are you talking about? Hammerstad, Brooking. I didn't. Sorry, Neil, I didn't get that. Sorry. Brooking was temporary manager and done very well. Of course, he was. He played. How many games did he play when what's his name got sacked? Well, we went down that season, didn't we? We went down that season. Toha. Hey, HH, have you got to know when to hold them? When to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to. Are you singing to her? Oh, what is going on, people? Obsidian, Newcastle only have 2 shots on target, proves the point. Their finishing was awful because they had much more than 2 shots. We actually had more shots in total in that game, mate. Honestly, that's why I deliberately put up, when I did the review, I deliberately put up the stats because I knew. Don't mean you specifically, but I knew in general people were going to go, oh, yeah, that's because they missed all the chances. I wish I got the stats again. We had more shots on and off target than they did. Infamy. If Liverpool wins the league, Slot wonder how much longer Arsenal fans will stay happy with Arteta if they finish second again or even third and don't win trophies this season. You know what? After Saturday, the way some of their fans were insufferable, I hope they win nothing, Arsenal. We were scared of them on Saturday, Mark. Agreed. I said that. Maybe because they smashed us last season at the stadium. True. Against Newcastle, we should have beaten them last season. So I believe we could have. Yeah, that's a good point. Psychologically, we were 3-0 or whatever it was up at Newcastle last season. And then those penalties lost us the game. So I guess we knew psychologically we could beat them. And then maybe the psychology of having lost 6-0 against Arsenal at home, maybe that was on the minds of some of the players. Good point. Colin, still, if Fulkrug on the bench, it would be no surprise it comes off and scores. I hope so. I absolutely hope so. Trodge, Newcastle just suffering from what we did with Europe burnout, I reckon. One-off, but passing patterns I saw them do in training were showing. Andrew, players I would let go in January if we get decent money will be Alvarez, Rodriguez, Ings, Soufal, Fulkrug, and a Gerd. Apart from Ings and Soufal, they don't want to be here. Get rid. Well, look, Alvarez, I'd sell him. Rodriguez, not in January. I'd sell him in the summer. Rodriguez, yes. Ings, yes, but we can't get rid of him. We tried to get rid of him in the summer, so he will see out his contract and leave at the end of the season. Same for Soufal, see out his contract, leave at the end of the season. A Gerd, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we will. If someone wants to buy him in January, that won't be a bad move. Fulkrug, yeah, if there's an offer, you would take it, wouldn't you? Absolutely, totally agree. Who else have we got? Let's scroll down. How far am I behind? That's not bad, actually. Ralph, is this the Coldridge film you Cowboys are banging on about? Now I'm really lost. Sometimes I just wish I hadn't read a comment because I know nothing about what it's on about. Shane, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I'm sure the Bulls feel different. Maybe the big clubs are weighed or have markings on them. Something is definitely not right with the draw. Oh, mate. Did you hear what I said at the beginning of the show? I'll just recap, shall I? Because some of the draws are hilarious. So, of course, we get a Premier League home draw, a Premier League away draw to Aston Villa. And the only other surprise is that Arsenal hosting Man United, and then the farce. Man City at home to Salford. Liverpool at home to Accrington Stanley. Chelsea at home to Morecambe. And Spurs have got it a bit tougher because they're away to Tamworth. Honestly, fixing? Come on. Surely not. in this day and age. You wouldn't have referees fixing games and giving all the decisions to one team over another, would you? And nor would you have match fixing when you draw the balls for the FA Cup. I'm turning into a cynical old bastard. Ray. If things go wrong, Paqueta could take over from Ray Winston as the face of Bedford. Jack, how did Lop interview well to get the job when his version of English is got to be well, you know, he was talking to Sullivan and probably weren't listening to half the answers. Hammer, if we do not go on a little winning run with these next fixtures, then I would be seriously getting concerned about relegation. I know there are worse teams than us. Man for man, we have better. Well, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier on. They're not winnable fixtures whatsoever. Leicester, away from home, fighting Premier League survival, even at this early stage of the season, is not good. And they've got that bounce back ability, you know, with the new manager. They're going to want to impress Van Nistelrooy and all that sort of stuff. So that ain't going to be easy. Wolves at home in the relegation zone, they're going to be fighting for a play to try and get points off us. I'd have Cunha. Good, isn't he? I'd have Cunha. And then there's going to be Bournemouth, who are playing really well at the moment. And is it Brighton then after that, who are also playing really well at the moment? And then we've got Southampton, who are also in the relegation zone and going to be fighting. So that's 5 games that everyone's going, should be easy. It won't be. Look, if we get 9 points or more from the next 5 games, I'll be relatively happy. Relatively happy. Who else have we got? Shaw Brooking manager. You know, I can't remember. It might have been about that when he managed at the end of the season. Who else have we got? You lot are talking about songs. So I'm gonna leave you to it. So I'm gonna take a bit more time looking at the comments I'm putting up. Mercedes, good evening to you. We have the 3rd worst goals against, joint 3rd worst, if you don't mind. Goals, so not many worse than us. It's 24 goals we've conceded so far this season. The 3rd joint worst in the league. Jack, Paqueta does himself no favours for his awful dives last season. Now refs won't give him fouls against him like the header. Well, that first goal was without a shadow of a doubt. Their first goal, a push on. I mean, what's his name? Their number 12 pushed right into Paqueta. That was right in front of the bloody ref, and the bloody linesman was on the side. One of them should have seen it. Dubious penalties last season. Still hate Gordon for that. Don't blame you. Johnny, what do you mean Stell is naked from the waist down behave? Well, you don't know what goes on down there, do you? You know, Graham. Look on the bright side, after the FA Cup game, we can concentrate on finishing. And I thought we were going to go on a cup run. Well, look, you know what? Stranger things have happened. That's why we go to away games, because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's just playing at home that's the problem. Philip, I've changed my mind. Who would be a good appointment? Should he go and get Carrick? Is my choice. He definitely knows what West Ham way is about. I'm going to be hated for this. I'm going to say it anyway. Just to get an old West Ham player doesn't mean it's going to be right. When we got Bilic, we thought, oh, fantastic, fantastic. But that didn't really go that well, did it? So it doesn't always work when you get an ex-player in to come and manage. Carrick, I don't mind, but you know, he's doing all right at Middlesbrough, but not great. And people keeps talking about Will Still in France. No, I'm not so sure. I don't mind getting a manager or a head coach that has no link to West Ham United. I don't mind that, so long as it's the right head coach. You know, if it had been someone like Amorim, I guess a lot of us would have gone, I take him, because you could see someone like that making West Ham better. Do I want the likes of Terzic, Conceição, etc.? I don't know. Maybe Conceição, but I know we'll get Terzic. He's got a link to West Ham, past, worked under Bilic. Infamy, Fulker trying to leave his legacy as West Ham player like Perez and Zaza. Have we had a French striker flop yet? Well, you mean German striker flop yet? No, he'd be the first German striker flop, wouldn't he? Catherine, couple of minutes behind, but the Arsenal fans are terrible everywhere. Tons of them here in Nashville. They're pretty insufferable. Must be a general character flaw. Totally agree with you. Totally agree. You do that, Clive, and get back here. I hope you're well, Clive. Who else have we got? Let's scroll down and see. We got Donny. Not Donny. Vonnie. Dallas Winston, I hate Gordon too. Was expecting one of his dives last week, but he was subbed before he could do it. Genuine question from Hammerette. Why is the officiating in the Premier League post-sub? Well, that's what I asked myself in the reflection show I did on Sunday. Apparently we've got the best league in the world, but we've got the burst. What is wrong with my speech today? We've got the best league in the world, but we've got the worst officiating in the world in my eyes. Jack, in my opinion, the players just don't understand Lopetegui. They're probably nodding their heads, pretending just out of politeness. Who else? Oh, I forgot. Newcastle are at home to Bromley. I didn't know that. There you go. Match fixing at its best. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Usual. Again, talked about that earlier, mate. Let's see. If they got the mullahs, then they'll get him. Nevadius. Second penalty against Arsenal was actually a foul on Kilman. That was a good point as well. Was it? Who was it? Gabriel was all over Kilman. And when was the last time you saw a goalie get a penalty against him when he was going for the ball with his fist? Is a goalie not allowed to do that anymore? I think he got something on the ball. And if he didn't, why didn't he just punch Gabriel's lights out and really sort of put us all out of our misery? Sorry, I'm advocating violence and I shouldn't. Mandy, still, to be fair, Bilic was crippled by the move. He was, but he just lost all his everything about. Do you remember what was it? Was it the World Cup or the Euro, whatever it was at that time when Bilic was a pundit on ITV or BBC or whatever, and he was praising, got on the table, didn't he? Praising Payet in the way he was playing, and then Payet came back and he went, "I want to leave," and Bilic was just forlorn. Absolutely forlorn. He didn't pick himself up from that, to be honest with you, Mandy. Let's scroll down. What else have we got? Toha. Robin van Nistelrooy will be in the dugout tomorrow. Let's see. Yes, his first game in charge for Leicester. Jerry. Terzic, no from me. Had squad problems, mainly from senior players at Dortmund, allegedly. Yeah, and I'm just wondering, and I asked the question, has Lopetegui got the same thing with squad players here at West Ham? Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Eamon, the refs have always been told to favour the bigger teams. I don't know if they've been told that, but it certainly feels it's ingrained in them to just favour them. I'm down to the bottom, so I can get on with that. Well, what am I getting on with? It's a show, isn't it? Neil, the officials being so poor is why VAR is so effed in this country. Same blind, dodgy twats behind the screens, which is why it'll never work. Now, I need a drink of water, so let's go into a break for 30 seconds so I can do that and come back and talk about the game. So what do we talk about? Let's look at the lineup. The lineup on Saturday was exactly the same lineup as the one that was played against Newcastle the week before. And yet, as I've mentioned already, and as you guys have been saying, the performances couldn't be so different if it tried. Fabianski in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson at the back, Souček, Soler, Paqueta in the middle, Somerville, Bowen, Antonio up front. And we looked like we were all strangers playing in the same playing for the first time together. Really, really weird, because when you think about how we performed against Newcastle, and I will accept your points about Newcastle, some chances not taken, they're not the same as Arsenal, etc., etc. I hear all that. But how different could it have been in terms of what we did as a team, the performance that we put in as a team? At least put some bloody effort in, lads. Now, what was interesting was one or two players on the bench because we had a few players missing. Creswell was missing from virus. I've mentioned Mavropanos was missing with a virus as well. And that gave the opportunity for Lopetegui, by default, I guess, to bring in a couple of young players. Now, what's interesting is Ollie Skulls, nearer to the first team than most, I would imagine. But Ephraim Myers, who is actually in the under-18 squad, currently playing for the under-21s, has been way up. Now, I talked about Myers a few weeks ago because he was training with the senior team. I did a piece about Ephraim Myers a few weeks ago as well, talking about how he's come through. He's signed a new contract with West Ham, first professional contract when he just turned 17. And for him to come through and actually be on the bench, all right, he was not going to play, but to be on the bench, I think is a massive statement to how well thought of Myers is. Absolutely superb, and I'm really pleased for him. So again, if I'm clutching at straws and looking for a positive, that's a positive. Now, the team, when I think about the team, look, the last two lineups, this has been the same team. Forget the bench, because there was a few changes, etc. So when you're looking at that, there's not that many fans that would have turned around and said that we shouldn't pick the same team against Arsenal that went out against Newcastle. Now, the one thing that I did sort of think about was for Newcastle was we didn't have a holding midfielder there. And then I thought, okay, well, it worked. So maybe, but this time round against Arsenal, maybe we should have a holding midfielder. And we didn't. And that completely exposed us, didn't it? Now, look, when I think about our midfield, the likes of Soler, I think he had a really, really great game against Newcastle. And he wasn't bad against, he had a really good game against Newcastle, but he wasn't bad against Arsenal. Maybe one of the slightly better players of all. But you go back to this and you sort of ask yourself, where did it go wrong? And tactically, people have already mentioned about tactics. We look at that back line, they cannot deal with the tactics that Lopetegui is pushing on the team. If we were watching this team last season under David Moyes' low block, I guarantee you they'd probably keep a lot more cleaner sheets than they would have done or they have been doing this season. That's the irony. Now, I don't want to go with a low block, but something's got to change for this team to be more effective, for our back line to be more effective. So when it comes to the game against Leicester, the team that will probably go out is something like this. Probably Kudus will be back. Now, actually, no. This is the team I would pick. Sorry, I've got another caption in a minute. This is the team I would pick for tomorrow night's game. Now, my understanding is Todibo's not available and may not be available for some time. And so Mavropanos has travelled with the squad, so he will take his place in the back line. So you're going to likely to see maybe Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Mavropanos, Kilman, and Emerson at the back. And then I would keep that attacking midfield. And then up front, I wouldn't drop Somerville because it looks almost likely that he'll be the one that will be dropped. But I would keep Somerville and put Kudus out on the right or Kudus up front and Bowen out the right or up front or whatever. Now, there's a suggestion from pundits that there may be 4 changes to the lineup from Saturday with Areola coming back in. I'm all right with that. If Areola was blamed for the defeat against Spurs, then you got to, look at Fabianski and ask, 5 goals going in against him against Arsenal. Was he to blame for any of them? I don't know. All right, 2 penalties, I guess. So that's one. And Todibo being unavailable means Kilman will be Mavropanos would be another replacement. And then people are suggesting that Alvarez will come back in and dropping Souček. And then, of course, Kudus coming in and dropping Somerville. I don't agree with dropping Somerville. I like Somerville. I think he does things, or he tries to do things when he's on the pitch. You can accommodate Somerville and Kudus in the same lineup. And maybe a combination of some of the players that are being suggested could turn out to be like this. I would drop Antonio, to be honest with you. I think he played great, and I gave him praise for the game he played against Newcastle last week. But just like most players, he didn't show up against Arsenal. He didn't harass the back line. He had nothing in him. And maybe he's playing a few too many games at the moment. So I would put him on the bench. Bring him on against Leicester if we need him. And I would play Bowen up front. I'll play Kudus out on the right. I will keep Somerville. All right, if you want to strengthen the midfield, then keep Alvarez there and maybe drop Souček. And then have Mavropanos at the back because Todibo's unavailable and Areola in goal. That would be probably, for me, the best team of the lot. And as you can see on the bench, Fulkrug, as we mentioned earlier on, is also available. He's travelled with the squad. So the players that my understanding haven't travelled, I don't know about Creswell. I'm not 100% sure if he's back. My understanding is he should be, because Mavropanos is as well. They both had viruses. So it may not be Ollie Scarles that travels up. It may be Creswell instead. Myers will be on the bench because Todibo's not available. And then the rest, a couple of midfielders and then 2 or 3 strikers. Now, the 4 guys are likely to be the likes of Guilherme. He might drop out of the squad completely. Todibo's not available, Creswell not available, and so on. And Rodriguez, if you've got Alvarez in the team, and you've got the likes of the Scottish Iniesta, Irving, then if Rodriguez isn't going to be the player that we want moving forward, then don't put him in the squad at all. So I don't know what you think, but that's my complete lineup. It's a mixture of, some people are suggesting that, for example, Fabianski will stay in goal. Some people are suggesting that the likes of Somerville would be dropped in favour of Kudus going out on the left. I don't want to see Kudus out on the left. I want to see Kudus either play in the middle, or I want to see Kudus playing out on the right-hand side. And if he plays on the right, put Bowen up front. Whichever way round you want to do it. I want to see Somerville stay in the team. I do want to see Areola come back in. I think he's been hard done by. Mavropanos coming in for Todibo. It is what it is. Maybe that's my lineup for against Leicester. That might be quite balanced. I feel sorry for Souček because I don't think he's really done much wrong. But if you want that bit more solidity, so long as he doesn't get a booking, then I would play that. In all honesty, I would actually drop Paqueta as well and keep Souček in the team. I think Paqueta has been a liability for the last season and a half. He keeps giving the ball away, gave the ball away a couple of times against Arsenal as well. What do you think? Tell me. Let's scroll down and see. Andrew, the first season in London Stadium was when the wheels came off for Bilic, when Sullivan went shopping in Lidl. Pyatt said, screw this, and effed off. Nothing has changed, by the way. Don't disagree with that. That's a really good point. Schenken, Arsenal just technically far superior. We just couldn't get the ball, so heads dropped and they retreated. That's a good point as well. But they also didn't need the referee to be on their side. Dallas, power dying. Your power's dying, must recharge. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And thank you for joining and thank you for commenting. Really appreciated. Hammer it. Mandy, I can't think of any, even Leicester thing we are got up because of how disjointed we are. What did Mandy say? Let's go down. Mandy, what team in the Premier League fear us or is wary of us? Probably none. Probably none. Who else have we got? Eamon. When we let a goal in, why isn't our captain or at least some players geeing up other players? It seems our heads drop straight away. It's a good point. And we saw that last season a couple of times as well. Toha. Saw her on Jules a couple of years ago. Don't know who you saw, but I hope she was really, really good. Mojo. Energy levels were poles apart, like a different team. Very frustrating. Johnny. I didn't think about the team. I don't think about the team when having a bath. I'm glad you don't. I'd be worried if you did. Colin, Arsenal are filth, such an unlikable bunch of players. What happened to sportsmanship? Well, I said it. I said what I thought about Arsenal. And I think, apart from the referee clearly siding with them, I think they cheat their way. That's horrible. I'm not accustomed to seeing teams cheat their way to winning things. I don't like it. I don't like it when they take half a minute to take a throw on. I don't like it when they take a minute to take a goal kick. I don't like it when they take half a minute to take a corner and all that sort of stuff. That's time wasting, which is an element of cheating in my eyes. And when they go down rolling around on the floor, as if they'd just been sniped, it's horrible. Eamon should have marked Oligard out of the game. Sorry, cannot spell his name. I get who you mean. Should have done, but not easy. Mandy should have gone Soler, Alvarez, and Souček. Paqueta is our weak link. Sorry to say at the moment. I don't disagree with that. No to Fabianski from Sam. I think, it was an experiment. It's not worked. I think Areola deserves his chance. I don't think Areola should have been dropped. Yes, Areola's had a few tough games, admittedly, but the worst thing for a keeper is that you drop them. It drops that, their heads drop, etc. Not good for their morale. I would have stuck with him. I would have taken Lopetegui's a goalie. Have a word. What's going on? What's going wrong? What can we do to make it right? Oh, no, you dropped. That's why, again, I'm going back to what's going on behind the scenes. Is there discourse between players and the head coach? I wonder, because you're seeing things that we used to blame Moyes for last season. Do you remember we used to blame Moyes for not playing players and he doesn't get on. No, the players don't like him. He's lost the dressing room. Has Lopetegui lost the dressing room? Has Lopetegui let players down in terms of the way he's managing them, in the way that he talked an awful lot. He's got a website, Lopetegui, and he talks about man management of players, the importance of the togetherness and all that sort of stuff. And yet it feels as if there's a discourse in the background. And like I said earlier on, we saw it when what happened with Kudus in the game against Brentford away, when Kudus didn't come out for the second half and he was upset, and apparently there's an altercation. I hope we haven't heard that there's been something else like that with any of the players recently. Peter, we kept a low block under Moyes against the Arse, got pumped 6-0. Well, good point. That is true. Michael, don't think we should play holding central defender against Leicester. Same team against Newcastle. I don't mind it. I get it, though. There might be a bit of nervousness at the moment, having had 5 scored against us. So it won't surprise me if Alvarez plays. But at the same time, it won't surprise me if we keep the same midfield 3 as well. Hammer it. I'm not really fussed about goalkeeper. Fab ain't done bad, I guess, but Areola could be a bit shaky. It's important. People are saying that Fabianski dominates this 18-yard box more than Areola does. Hang on, I'm scratching my head. I remember the reason why we brought Areola in was because Fabianski couldn't, he still doesn't do it. Look at other goalkeepers. I was going to say he doesn't command his 18-yard box. I don't think Fabianski any better than Areola does. But it's the distribution of the ball. Almost every other keeper in the Premier League, they get the ball and it's gone. Out it goes, puts the team out on the attack. What does Fabianski do? Go on, opposition. You just go back to your positions. So I've got no one to bloody well pass it to. Old man, Fabianski has just signed to fight Jake Paul after that punch. Mandy, Alvarez in the deeper role. Soler, Suchik just ahead. Kudus up top, Bowen and Somerville. I don't mind that. But yeah. Put Kudus up top. I don't mind. Whichever way round you want it. I just don't want to see Kudus out on the left. I think it'd be really unfair on Somerville being dropped. So long as he's either up front or on the right, that's where I prefer to see Kudus. Hammerette, Bowen up top with Somerville and Kudus. Let Antonio rest for a week. Agreed. Matthew, surely Antonio can't play twice in 3 days. No, he can't, which is why he should be rested. Sam, yeah, Fabianski's crap. Areola is best keeper. We have so many games. He saved so many games last season. I think we forget just how good a goalkeeper Areola has been over the last couple of years. Jack, Kudus could make a difference as he's had a 5 good week rest. He could also be a little bit rusty. Toha, we said that about Zuma last season, Matthew, but Moyes kept starting him. Who did Matthew mention? I can't see it. So my apologies, Matthew. Can't see your comments. Michael, perhaps we give a share of Ings and Antonio for each half. I just start with either Kudus or Bowen up front and then bring on those other players if we need to. Andrew, Antonio, 1 in 6 performances. If you're lucky, we need to move on. We should have 3 or 4 years. We should have done 3 or 4 years ago. Exactly that. Totally agree. Eamon, play Somerville up front. He took his goal really well. It was a really good goal, even though it was disallowed for offside. Stop teams from holding a high line against a good shout. That I don't care so long as I don't see Kudus out on the left. Mandy, Kudus would be a great striker. Strong, loves to shoot, can battle off players. I totally agree. Schenken, the goalie is key. A quality goalie does half the work like Parks used to do, etc. Good point again. Nevadius, our midfield is dreadful. Nobody who could change the game from the bench. Well, yeah, if you put them all out from the start, there isn't much left. I don't know. The Scottish Iniesta looks a little bit tidy, doesn't he? Why not give him a shout a bit more often? Eamon, I would have the front 3 rotating and our midfield 3 rotating with the left back or right back joining the midfield when attacked. Yeah, good shout. Andrew, When I see Ings come on the pitch, I get the same feeling as when Jonathan Spector used to play. No hope. And yet, he had one of our better chances, didn't he, near the end of the game? Jack, we can't drop Souček because he scores goals. Vonnie would like to see more of Irving, not given much of a chance and did well pre-season. Trini, if Bowen was to play up top, it would be the last chance saloon for him in that position. As he's been poor there this season, honestly, I don't think he likes playing there. And yet last season, when he played quite a bit up there and with Kudus alongside him, he scored the most goals in a season. But then put, like people are saying, I don't mind which one of them. Maybe Kudus up front. He would suit. He's strong. He can fend off players. But the trouble is, he won't do the running around out wide that Antonio does. But then I don't want my striker going out wide. I want my striker in the middle where the ball should be going. Sam, Arriola should come back in as soon as possible. Mandy, how bad have we missed Noble in the London derbies? Yeah, he brought some steel to that team, didn't he? Good evening to you, Black Country. I hope you're well. Bit late to the show. Good evening to you, mate. Thank you for joining. Jack, Bowen's form has dipped since he became captain. Sam again, Arriola's best goalkeeper we had. You've mentioned that. Thank you. I've never did it. I've got 285 people watching. Now, what I'd really, really love is to see my subscriber numbers. 285 people, 10% is all I'm asking for. Those that I dare say, not all 288 of you now are subscribers. I would love to get a 10% subscriber uplift tonight. So come on, people. 10 of you. No, that's 28. 28 of you have only got to hit that subscribe button. Please go ahead, subscribe and hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. But as importantly, hit the like button, as Clive has mentioned there. Mojo. I agree on Pac-Man. He's a bit of a luxury and he's been off the boil. Dropping him might do us good. Can't see Lopetegui doing it, though. He might have to, He might have to because he's not been great. Not been great for the last season and a half or so. Aruba Hammers. Good evening to you, Mark. I hope you're well. You were on some show. I can't remember what it was, but I saw a snapshot. I didn't see it, mate, I'm afraid. But well done to you. Mark has moved to some island called, I know where it is. He's moved to a beautiful island called Aruba, and he's just started Aruba Hammers. So if you see it on Facebook, are you on Facebook and Twitter, mate, or just Facebook? Become an Aruba Hammer subscriber. You don't have to live there, although it'd be nice to live there. Beautiful island. I hope you're well, Mark. Amen. There used to be a thing called sportsmanship in the game. That has long gone. With all the diving going on, I'm surprised some teams ain't entered in the Olympics. I hate it. Absolutely hate it so much when I see players diving all over the place. And Arsenal did that really well. Jack, problem with Arriola is not good at commanding his box, lets in too many near-post goals, and yet I don't think Fabianski is much better, to be honest with you. Trini, Souček should have been dropped, not because he's poor, but because he needed a defensive midfielder against Arsenal. Either Souček or Paqueta, but he wasn't going to drop Paqueta. Andrew, Declan Rice has tarnished his legacy for me by signing for them, but I've come to dislike him, unfortunately. It is what it is. We've moved on. Gaz, I'm currently watching from the start. I'm about an hour behind. Didn't see Slaven Bilic as a pragmatic manager. Ironically, he wasn't. I guess because he was a defender, he actually played with a bit of flair, didn't he? Yeah, fair play. Good point. Trini, refs are supposed to add the minutes back when they do add the minutes. You have those Muppets pundits complaining about the added time. You know what? We had a player down. I think it was Todibo that was down for a good few minutes at the end of the game, and the minute it hit the added time, he blew the whistle. Anthony Taylor. Yeah. We should put in a petition not to have him ref another game for West Ham. Runs to the end of the box and stops. Delayed distribution. Shake it up once in a while. Fabianski agreed. Neil, Fabs has been a great servant, but he's getting on. So our old gits know things just don't work like they used to. Absolutely agree. Let's scroll down. Pierino. We better bring back 3 points. Nothing else is acceptable. Rude done well at Man United is an idol. Leicester have passed it. We have got to get the 3 points. Fingers crossed we do. Bonnie, Moyes was on Match of the I know, I saw that, and was very clear and easy to understand what he was saying, unlike Loppy. Uh, Colin, sometimes I think we're cursed. It doesn't matter who the manager is. We don't seem to perform. Andrew, it's crazy that Antonio Creswell is still here. They were well past their sell-by date years ago. It explains a lot of why we continue to regress each season. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Funky T. The Newcastle game gave us false impression. I haven't seen nothing from Loppy to suggest, which shows an upgrade to Moyes. Can't see anything changing as long as he's here. Colin, Stel, look at the next 5 fixtures with Loppy in charge. I can only see 4 points. I reckon we lose to Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, and 1 point against Southampton. It's very possible. It's very, very possible. Oh, man. We're playing Leicester, so 4-4-2. They're a terrible team. You know that won't happen, do you? Unfortunately. Good night to you, Anthony. Thank you for joining, mate. I hope you have a good evening. Mark, cheers from Aruba Hammers. Funky T, I think Kudus would be a weapon up front. Strong, holds the ball up and knows where the goal is. I don't disagree. I would love to see that happen tomorrow night. Michael, Paqueta is a liability playing in the middle. 4-man midfield with Kudus Soler in the middle. Yeah, don't mind that. Andrew, Paqueta fan, but I've grown tired of his antics, and now we need to stop indulging him. I wouldn't be as sad now if he was to go. Where would I put Kudus in tomorrow's game? Like a lot of people have said, I either want him to be out on the right bank on, or I want him to be up front. One or the other, either on the right or up front. But you just know damn well he's going to end up playing on the left. Usual. I only said it because I know the type of thing you like. I don't know what music you're talking about, but there you go. I must be mad. I'm optimistic for tomorrow. I am too. I'm so optimistic that I'm going up there. And that's it. I'm going up there tomorrow night. I will do what I can after the game, but the game finishes late and I've got to make my way back to the train station, because if I miss the last train, I'm absolutely buggered. So what I'll do, I might do a show from the train, or something like that. So look out for that. It won't be a live show. It won't be a live show. It will be a pre-recorded, but I'll try and get it up tomorrow night. Question, Hammerette. Who is in you? Who's in me? What did I say? I don't know. What are you talking about? Hey, why do we keep buying 28-year-old players? Our owners only ever look at short-term and never long-term for the club. We will never build with buying their past best players. That's it. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for listening. And thank you all very much for getting involved in the show. As I always say it, and I don't mean it in a weird, you make the show. Without you, it wouldn't go on as long as it does. But really, thank you all. Much appreciated. Come on, people. We need to keep the faith. It's not easy, I know, and even I'm getting a tad frustrated. But we go again. We go against Leicester. Let's see what happens tomorrow night, and then we've got next Monday when we play Wolves and so on. So let's see how we do. There's a couple of shows coming up. I'll try and put out a show, like I said, straight after the game, and then I'll do a reflection show on Wednesday. And then I'm trying to finish off this video that I've created about the academy. That will go out at the end of the week. I promise you that. And then there'll be other things coming up. So do look out for them. And the only way to find out when they're on is if you subscribe and you hit the bell notification and also hit the like button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for getting involved. And I will see you all very soon.